Gwendolyn.
All right, you all just got drafted into a queer radical activist meeting.
Yes!
Now,
Okay.
to be fair, Vanguard already is a weekly queer radical activist meeting, but this performance slot is going to get down to the brass tacks. For the first part of this, I am going to explain that, despite how it may feel, in the big picture, we are actually not only winning right now, but we are careening towards major victories. For the second part of this, I will explain clear, simple, and easy steps you can take to save lives and contribute to our upcoming victories. So, I'm going to start by saying that I realize that it is fucked that at 47 I am clocking in as a queer and especially as a trans elder. Though, for the record, there are actually more of us out there than our nightclub attendance may suggest, so don't write us off just yet. But given the amount of despair I am seeing at the intense wave of anti-queer and anti-trans legislation that is sweeping both the state and large parts of the country, I'm going to share my perspective on a few things with you.
Come on.
First thing is, I will not try to sugarcoat that there are people out there who are trying to kill us right now. But literally hundreds of thousands of us died during the AIDS crisis, and this is not that. We survived that, and we will survive this too.
Yes, we will.
And just like we came out of that stronger, more organized, and demanding our rights, leading directly to, among other things, gay marriage, we will harness this to win major victories as well. There is an expression. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. I have been watching this play out over the course of my life, and right now we are on stage 3 of that, hurtling towards stage 4, particularly regarding trans rights. How do I know we are winning? Over the course of my life, I have seen us go from only a small handful of mainstream depictions, of which we were almost always the butt of denigrating jokes, to Drag Race being one of the most highly rated shows in the country for years, and becoming nothing short of a full-tilt cultural phenomenon. Information, resources, and medical options for transgender people are becoming widely available for the first time in the history of this country. Openly queer and trans people play lead roles that portray them as complex human beings. We win awards, we win court rulings, and we are elected to office. Part of what is driving these victories is that over 20% of Generation Z identifies as queer and or trans, thereby making queer and trans people the most rapidly growing voting bloc in the country. This is also good news because Generation Z is one of the most politically engaged generations of youth voters in decades. And while I knew that all of that was good, the moment that I knew we would win for sure was actually extremely counterintuitively the day of the Supreme Court abortion ruling. In the first hours of that day, I was gutted and I literally felt as if the air had been sucked out of my lungs. But with absolutely zero planning and zero organization, in the space of just a few hours, 10,000 people ran screaming out of their houses and into the streets and filled up Congress Avenue and all of the side streets in front of the Capitol to protest. The reason for that is that people who know freedom will not accept their rights being taken away from them. That goes for women, queers, trans people, and racial and religious minorities, and together we are forming a coalition of others where we all learn each other's issues and we go to bat for each other. Because at the end of the day, together, there are more of us than there are of them. Their abortion victory will be what cost them the war. Their positions are deeply unpopular, even among their own base. I believe that through the sheer force of our numbers, people will take to the streets and to the polls, and by the time we are done, we will, at a minimum, have won. Protections for the bodily autonomy of women and trans people, equal protections under the law for gender and sexual minorities, and mandatory ethical standards for Supreme Court justices. But why stop there? Because at a maximum, before we are done, I think that we are also going to wind up eliminating the Electoral College, overhauling the Supreme Court, and overhauling policing and the prison industrial complex in America. So, how can you participate? Did you know that as a resident of Texas, you basically get to vote on each bill the day it is heard in committee? You can use a free short-term parking at the Capitol Visitors Garage, walk one very short walk over to the Capitol, and without even going through security or even inside the building, you can pull out your phone and register your support or opposition to legislation as long as you are on the Capitol Wi-Fi network, and then walk away mission completed in the space of 10 minutes. It is also worth mentioning that if you are having trouble with the Capitol Wi-Fi network, which you definitely might, they actually have dedicated kiosks inside the building. It's the exact same thing you would have on your phone. You just punch in your information and walk away. And if you are feeling especially motivated, you can sign yourself up to speak about the bill for 2 minutes if you feel like sticking around. And if you want to know which days to go, Equality Texas is a great resource for keeping track of queer and trans interest bills. I'm going to leave you with one final queer elder perspective. Right now is queer history. Just as they make movies about what it was like to live during the Stonewall era and what it was like to live during the AIDS crisis, they will also make movies about what it was like to be queer and trans during this epic wave of hatred, and what it was like to fight back, and how we went on to win the major victories that will be celebrated as turning points in the future. Being here at Vanguard, living, loving, dancing, and participating in the community and in the culture means that you are already going down in history as having fought in the resistance. And if that is all that you have it in you to do while living in a system that is designed to grind you down, then that is real, and your presence here alone is valuable. But that said, if you have the bandwidth and you would like to go down in history as having fought on the front lines, come join me down at the Capitol. We've got 5 bills tomorrow, like tomorrow alone. If you got some spare time tomorrow, we've got to take a stand at the Capitol and come talk to me if you'd like to meet up. Thank you.
Y'all keep making some noise.